I don't know. I wasn't there.
Sure you know, Beckwith. I'll give you 5 seconds, and that's it.
How are you?
I am doing great. And you have been doing great in Billy the Kid. I really love your performance. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
First question I have for you is Jesse Evans, once a brother to Billy, now very much on the opposite side. The war is in full force. What has it been like to play the loss of that friendship alongside all of the animosity?
Good question. Yeah, I mean, they are brothers, and this season, the first 4 episodes, part 1, where I think we saw that, like, even though they've ended up on opposite sides of this war, they have a mutual respect for each other that they can't quite get away from. And we see that in the first 4 episodes where Jesse could have killed him. He had him at the end of his gun and could have got him. And the same with Billy at one point too. When he rescues Charlie, he could have taken him out and had one less asshole, part of my friends, to deal with. Like, he could have made his life a lot easier, and neither of them choose to, which is a really fascinating relationship to see play out on screen. Because I was describing it earlier to someone. It's like, it almost feels like watching 2 people who have like served on a sports team together, who then have to play on opposite sides, and like there's a mutual admiration there, that they can't quite bring each other to like have animosity towards each other, but at the same time there's all this like pent up resentment that they're not on each other's side. So yeah, it's fascinating, and I love Daniel. I love the way he plays Jesse. He's such a good villain. He's such a good villain because he doesn't play him like a villain. He plays him like someone who thinks he's right, And he plays him with such physicality and strength. It's really cool. Yeah,
absolutely. Going into the final 4 episodes of the season, Pat Garrett is now sheriff, so we know the clock is ticking. What does that mean for Billy? Can we talk about diving into this, like your final boss?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know for sure, because like Michael Hurst will lead you down a path where you think it's going to go the historic way, and then he'll surprise you, which I love, because he's not afraid to say, we've already seen the documentary version of this. Like, we're not watching a documentary, we're watching a dramatization. And with that comes the freedom to like slightly veer off path and find a way to tell history and fill in the gaps, because there's so many gaps. Like, we don't really know for sure what happened. I mean, to the point where some people think he lived and some people think he died. Like, those are the 2 polar opposites of like what could have happened to him. So there's all these options in between along the way. Michael is willing to explore, so it's kind of cool. But when it comes to Pat, I think he's such a cool character. I mean, first of all, Alex is just cool. Like, he plays him with such kind of like easy swagger, with that massive mustache, which like does all the acting for him. He doesn't even have to act. I was like, if I could grow that, I wouldn't even have to act. It does everything for you. It's like he's got it easy with that thing. Sorry, going off track.
Next time you'll have to paint one on. You got to paint one on. There you go.
I'll just squeeze a few hairs out. I'll do what I can. But yeah, no, I think he signals danger. We kind of know that Pat, whatever it is, we know he's jealous of Billy, and we know that he kind of wants to like use Billy to build his own name. And he always has since he first met him. So I think whatever it is, it signals danger for Billy.
Absolutely. Speaking of filling in the gaps, your relationship with Dulcinea is far from severed, and we see that she's very much a factor in this final 4 episodes. Can you talk about his feelings for her and how they're used against him?
Yeah, I mean, it's the classic hero thing, right? It's like your enemies will use the person that's closest to you to get to you, and that happens. Excuse me, that happens in this next block of episodes, the part 2. Like, when we left them at the beginning of part 1, or beginning of the season, she was not about it. Like, she wanted him to give up the life. He wasn't ready to give up the life. He had to avenge Tunstall. He's full of revenge. He feels like he has to, honor his friend's death. And with that, he risks severing the love of his life from his life. But I think we see her come back in a big way in part 2, and actually get to like do some really cool stuff. Like, I won't spoil anything, but she becomes kind of a heroine to herself. She's kind of a badass in part 2. Yeah.
I love to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of really cool stuff, not necessarily spoilers, is there an episode in this back half that is most meaningful to you? If you had to point to one that you were like, I had the most fun or the most, just pride filming that one.
Yeah. Honestly, I really love this part two. I think it's like really special. I think it's actually very special television. And we got very lucky because we ended up with the snow because we had to film it in the winter. So it kind of added a whole new layer, a new character to the story, which is like the dangerous elements. And I think it like upped the ante even more. So I'm really excited for them to see it. But I think episode, I guess it will be episode 5 of part 2. There's a sequence with me and Buckshot Roberts, who has kind of become, one of the villains on their side of the house. That is like a really cool action sequence, and he kind of gets his moment to like really go rogue. And it's at the beginning of part 2, and I'm excited for people to see that.
I love that. One thing I really love about Billy the Kid is that we see his moral compass and how it kind of disintegrates over the course of season 2, especially, which of course also reminds me of Coriolanus Snow. What is it that draws you to this pipeline of innocence to ignominy? Can you discuss?
That is the best way that anyone has put that. That's amazing. Innocence to ignominy. That's really good. I need to write that in my diary. I think it's let's sit above my bed. I am really drawn to those characters, and I think they are usually just the best written characters. They're usually the characters that have the most depth and nuance, and the most ups and downs, left and rights to explore when playing them. They're also just like the characters that I loved watching when I was growing up. Like, characters that Fassbender would play, or Gary Oldman would play, these complicated characters. Even like back in the day, like Humphrey Bogart, when you think about like the characters he would play, like that, none of them were like good or bad. They were always complicated. And I've always been interested in that. Yeah.
Well, you do it beautifully. So my final question is, Hunger Games, Songbirds and Snakes was a smash hit, at least in my room, but I think everywhere. If we go back to Pan Am, which the world clearly wants to do you want to continue playing Snow?
Yeah. It'd be a no-brainer. I mean, it's like, I feel like I was so fortunate to get to step into that world, and I really love everyone involved, like Francis Lawrence, Nina Jacobson, and Suzanne Collins, and everyone involved. But it would be really cool to keep digging into that story. I think fans feel this too. I think they were very excited to like reignite the world, and I think people feel like that reigniting, there's more to do, there's more stories to delve into. And I do think there's more to Coriolanus' story to delve into, whether he's kind of the lead character or whether he's a periphery character and we look at someone else's. But I think like it'd be fascinating to see his continued rise to power and what happens along the way. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations on Billy the Kid, on everything that you do. I can't wait to see much more. Thank you.
So good speaking to you.
Have a great day.
Billy, we should defend the ranch. Protect your property. We gotta fight him.
Billy's right.